swine flu outbreak that they lied to you about in 1976 caused 4,000 cases of Guillain-Barré syndrome. Guillain-Barré syndrome is autism, is sudden infant death, is attention deficit disorder, is polio, is smallpox. It's all the same common mechanism. I'm saying words to you, you're going to see it for yourself, because even the drugs that they are giving you, the Lipitors, the anti-cholesterol drugs, you get pain, you get myalgia, you get muscle pain. It's causing the same problem in basic physiology. It's derailing microscopic blood flow, the key first step to disease and disorders. Because when I can show you, and you will all see it this evening, that every vaccination from infancy to adulthood causes exactly the same specific neurological damages in your brain for all of you, whether you receive a diagnostic label or not. The damages are additive with every vaccine you receive. That even mothers who breastfeed their children after being vaccinated, the children are showing the exact same neurological damages leading to autism within hours of that breastfeeding, the same as if they were vaccinated.
Galileo's law of falling bodies calculates the time in which an object will travel a certain distance in complete freefall. Distance, d, equals 16.8 times time in seconds squared. The South Tower was 1,362 feet tall. 1362 equals 16.08 times 84.7, or 9.2 seconds. The Twin Towers came down in nearly free-fall speed.
This video is about people who are duty-bound, do not have the physical and mental ability to perform the duties of the position, having regard to his or her own safety and the safety of the members of the public. As well, you're going to see how many duty-bound people do not have good moral character and habits. Enjoy the video.
I am John Doe, and I would like to bring a serious crime to everybody's attention. In a few minutes, I will discuss how there is a massive and criminally negligent failure. I'm going to point out something that is deeply disturbing and is being ignored on purpose to the detriment of millions of people who believe that the trusted should never be questioned first, or even questioned at all. The trusted do need to be questioned first, no matter what. There is a serious breach of protection of the public and a serious breach of keeping people informed. That a police officer has the powers and duties ascribed to a constable at common law. Too many are physically and mentally unable to perform the duties of the position, having regard to his or her own safety and the safety of the members of the public. As well, many police officers do not have good moral character and habits, and I'm going to show now why I say all of this. There is a serious misconduct of police officers by withholding of services as well. So now, here is why I bring this out.
Excuse me, can you help me? I'm looking at this contamination zone in the sky, like the airplanes. I've reported this to every agency on the planet. I've reported this to the EPA. I testified at a hearing, the FAA, the DEQ, the FBI. There's nothing that can you take a report for me for airplane pollution? Why can't you do that? It's a crime against humanity. She just walked away from me. Did you see that, guys? The police officer just walked away from me. Oh my God, I'm bugging out now. That is insane.
The wireless technology that is coming is a microcell system that is going to be broadcasting wireless signals at a frequency of 60 gigahertz. That 60 gigahertz frequency is the absorption spectrum of oxygen. And this is absolutely dangerous to human health and life. The 60 gigahertz systems have been deployed as a weapons system. And weapons systems destroy life. You don't mess with oxygen. If one goes 30 days without food, you're going to be really skinny and possibly dead. 3 days without water and you know what happens. But a very short amount of time without oxygen or air, it's lights out for all metabolic processes in the human body and other life forms as we know it. The only way I can phrase it is that it will be a slowly fast-acting effect on us all. What happens at the molecular level when you have oxygen being hit with radio frequency emissions at 60 gigahertz, which you and many others may think is fine, but you need to understand what this stuff does. It affects the orbital properties of the electrons of oxygen and the hemoglobin's ability to bind the oxygen atoms. I'm going to say that again. It affects the orbital properties of the electrons of oxygen and the hemoglobin's ability to bind the oxygen atoms. This is dangerous and not worth any risks. Health and other types of decisions are being made for masses of people by elected bureaucrats that thumb their noses at warnings or even explanations and believe the lies that come from the lobbyists and others, as well as the scientific apparatus that is owned lock, stock, and barrel by the wireless industry. The police have to power down the towers immediately, as all towers are a problem. There are numerous alternatives nobody wants you to think about. This is just a further point in showing that too many officials are physically and mentally unable to perform the duties of the position, having regard to his or her own safety and the safety of the members of the public. As well, way too many do not have good moral character and habits. Ultimately, I want to talk about chemtrails, which are the lines in the sky from aircraft that are not engine exhaust, as water vapor at 35,000 feet would diffuse or sublimate immediately into a nearly 0% humidity environment. For those who do not know what I mean by sublimate, just use the concept of evaporate. Water evaporates even in very high humidity environments, so in a near zero humidity environment, water vapor will diffuse immediately, and we would never see lines across the sky for hours or for miles and miles. Diffusion means to go from high concentration to low concentration, basic grade 9 chemistry or physics. We never see a dog's breath leave a 2-mile trail while going for a walk on a very cold day, do we? Or we never see trails coming from furnace exhaust pipes that leave a trail for 4 hours from each and every house, do we? No, we don't. We never see automobiles leave 20-mile trails down the street either, do we? No, we don't. And so we are being sprayed with chemicals from aircraft. And the police and the Solicitor General and others are criminally neglecting to act to protect on an inhumane act on a civilian population, which is a crime against humanity. Those lines in the sky are very likely from nozzles that are in line with exhaust output, because we can see the on and off nature of the lines, which would suggest engine failure. And if so, all aircraft must be hauled in for inspection if those lines in the sky are claimed to be engine exhaust, for which they're not. Who would want to fly knowing the engine fails on and off? I wouldn't fly, and wouldn't recommend anyone else to fly either if those lines are said to be from engine exhaust. Now, we have not gotten anywhere near enough traction on getting the police to investigate chemtrails, an actual crime in progress.
First tonight, hazmat crews from all across our area responded to a chemical leak this afternoon in Rock Island. The chemical was so strong that it was burning through the concrete there. News 8's Christy Mergenthal has the latest.
It was just before 1 o'clock Thursday afternoon when hazmat crews were called to the Rock Island water treatment plant for a chemical spill coming from this tanker truck.
It's a corrosive agent that the water treatment plant uses, and there was an overflow that caused spillage out from the building onto this driveway behind me.
As plant employees evacuated, crews began suiting up, working quickly to stop the leak that had begun eating through concrete.
And they stopped the leak using some earthen berms with dirt, sand, and some commercial boom equipment, and had it contained pretty much to this facility within a short amount of time.
The chemical hydrofluorosilic acid is used to add fluoride to the plant's water. Although it poses a burn risk to skin, those living nearby were in no immediate danger.
There's no inhalation hazard at all, So there was no need for us to evacuate any residents around the area.
After several hours, crews were able to clean up the leak, allowing operations to return to normal.
They had to cordon off the area, obviously, but as far as the treatment of the water and the amount of water being used by the public, there's no effect on that at all.
In Rock Island, Christy Mergenthal, WQAD Quad Cities, News 8.
Thank you, Christy. Investigators tonight still haven't given an official estimate on just how much of that chemical spilled out.
For a chemical spill coming from this tanker truck.
Hydrofluorosilicic acid is an extremely dangerous and deadly chemical that's used in Austin. There was no mention, for example, of the material safety data sheets of how dangerous this chemical is. Number two is the fact that hydrofluorosilicic acid is also one of the most dangerous chemicals transported in Austin if there were to be a serious accident and a breaching of the container on the highway or the city streets. And a lot of people don't know the hazards associated with a spill and a breaching of one of these tankers that goes right through the city of Austin and to the treatment plants.
Let's talk about water, and then we'll get on with chemtrails. Again, I would like to point out that Toronto water treatment plants supply more than 1 billion liters per day of fluoridated water. The region of Peel supplies about 900 million liters a day of fluoridated water. The city of Hamilton produces approximately 200 million gallons per day of fluoridated water. Halton supplies 182,000 or so cubic meters per day of fluoridated water, and Burlington supplies 260 million liters per day of fluoridated water. The regional municipality of Durham, as Oshawa, supplies 134,000 cubic meters per day, with Whitby 118,000 cubic meters per day, and Ajax 163,000 cubic meters per day of fluoridated water. So the output in gallons in one day of the jurisdictions I just mentioned is over 1 billion gallons per day. And at 1 part per million of fluoride in that water, this would be over 1,000 gallons of hydrofluorosilicic acid and inorganic fluoride per day that is added to city water and drinking water. Almost all of this drains into Lake Ontario, polluting Lake Ontario, our drinking water supply. I repeat, almost all of this city water drains into Lake Ontario, polluting Lake Ontario, the drinking water supply for millions of people. Hydrofluorosilicic acid is an inorganic fluoride, listed as a toxic substance by the Canadian Environmental Protection Act. It is item number 40 in Schedule 1 of the Canadian Environmental Protection Act. The MSDS for hydrofluorosilicic acid states to prevent entry into sewers, streams, waterways, and rivers, as well as lakes. Fluoride stays inside the human body. The fluorine atom would love to attach itself to any other atom that is smaller than itself, thereby causing a larger atom to be displaced as a result of its newly formed chemical bond. So atoms that are attached to carbon atoms that are larger than fluorine atoms will be displaced, and the cell is now permanently altered and damaged with no ability to remove the fluorine atom in your body. Fluorine is too small an atom to extract. Fluoride also stays inside the human body by bypassing our teeth and mouths as it goes into the digestive tract and starts the damage there. It is against the law and it is immoral to put an inorganic fluoride into any sewer, stream, river, or lake system, especially a life-supporting water system that supports millions of people. I now want to press on regarding chemtrails. Have you noticed that we do not have 2 days in a row of just deep blue skies and sun? Nothing else? Just deep blue skies and sun? For maybe a decade now? High-pressure weather zones create many days of nothing but blue sky and sun. but we are being sprayed by aircraft. Look up. Ignore your cell phones for a bit. We need natural sunlight for photosynthesis and vitamin D production in our skin, so it is a major health issue. Photosynthesis is also required for plants, fruits and vegetables, and algae, and to convert carbon dioxide into sugar and oxygen. I urge everyone, including new police officers, the new Solicitor General, the new Premier, the new Mayor, new City Councillors, new Health Department employees, new Lieutenant Governor, and the no longer written into law royals, to focus on every aircraft that takes off and to focus on every airbase and every airport, as well as all deliveries to the airbase or airport, to ensure that every aircraft takes off without chemicals that will leave a chemical trail that are emitted from nozzles in line with jet engine output exhaust. If anyone sees a line in the sky, track it to where it came from and where it is landing, and seek immediate public inspection for its cause. High bypass turbofan jet engines are used on commercial and military aircraft. High bypass turbofan jet engines use the spinning blades just as a household fan operates or an Everglades airboat operates to push air. The high bypass turbofan jet engine produces as much as 93% of thrust from the spinning blades. Combine this with the moisture diffusion at near 0% humidity at flight levels from a relatively small turbine, along with that massive fan blowing at the exhaust of that turbine engine, diffusion is instantaneous. The trails in the sky that we see are chemicals released from nozzles. They're nozzle trails, intentional man-made releases intentionally hidden from understanding. So we are being sprayed, and you may ask, well, who or why would anyone do such a thing? Great question. Think of Adolf Hitler, or Joseph Stalin, or any other living or dead leader that is responsible for massive deaths in the name of government or religion. Or you can even think of calling a government agency and asking them questions and get an endless runaround. It's not just evil. It's also the stupid. Those who do not have the mental ability to perform the duties. This is why the trusted must be questioned first. For 9/11 or anything that is not right, as the trusted will get away with incompetence and maybe even murder. Buildings do not fall down in free fall time unless explosives help it along in such a manner that the buildings come down in the exact manner as a controlled demolition. Inside job. The Pentagon likely has the most cameras on Earth concentrated in one location. And we have unacceptably poor video from that inside job as well. Question the trusted first, because they can get away with anything. I urge everyone in the public to endlessly seek to prosecute the Solicitor General, chiefs of police, police officers, health departments, mayors, city councillors, the Lieutenant Governor, the Premier of Ontario, the Prime Minister, the Governor General, even Her Majesty, not just in Ontario, as this needs to be done worldwide. Do you really like how our world is going right now? I don't think so. So now's the time to start. Start now. I revoke all previous oaths of allegiance. I pledge my allegiance to my fellow man and families and the earth we live on. So help me God. So thank you for your attention, and everybody please go after these people right now and until they are gone, and replace them with people who will publicly affirm, I revoke all previous oaths of allegiance. I pledge my allegiance to my fellow man and families and the earth we live on, so help me God, or whoever your higher power is. And so I leave you with a tool. Print any of the imperfect documents at www.arrestthem.com/Toronto or www.arrestthem.com/Vancouver and all the spelling is lowercase, and hand it to police officers everywhere, whether the police officer is on foot, on a horse, on a bicycle, in a police car, at the police station. Maybe we can be so active that we can create lineups at the police station of people printing the documents and making a massive undertaking to demand action to stop chemtrails, water fluoridation, and so much more, by handing physical paper, a record, a paper trail, to cops at the front desk of your local police station, or any police station, and verifying that they receive it by loading videos onto YouTube. Do this repeatedly if need be. Bring a friend, be a pal, print them a document and do it together. Best friends, husbands and wives, brothers and sisters, etc. Make it a family affair. Make it a group affair. The documents are not perfect, but anyone who has cognition and care and love in their hearts in any country, they will get the point that we are being sprayed by aircraft via nozzles in line with exhaust output, which is an inhumane act on a civilian population and, by definition, a crime against humanity. So please, use your printer and your video camera as your weapon. It is very inexpensive, and it is easier than having to hop fences yourself to stop what needs to be stopped immediately, because no one's going to do it unless you do it. But we don't want to hop fences. It's easier to get the cops to do it, and it's easier to deal with those people that I had mentioned. Those duty-bound people. Those duty-bound people just mentioned many, many, many times do not have the physical and mental ability to perform the duties of the position, having regard to his or her own safety and the safety of the members of the public, and is therefore also failing in good moral character and habits. So in short, we need to ensure that all deliveries to all airports and air bases do not have chemtrail chemicals enter the airport or air base. We also need to make sure every aircraft is not loaded with any chemtrail chemicals that will leave the aircraft and leave a line in the sky. And we also need to ensure that not only is every takeoff clean, we need to make sure every landing was clean. And so this is what we need to do.